In this lecture, we are going to create our custom block. By the end, we should be able to add our block to the editor without errors. Most of the work has been done for us. By creating a block.json file, WordPress will have most of the information it needs for adding a block to the editor. The last step in the process is to provide a UI for the block. This part of the process can be handled from the JavaScript file. In your editor, open the index.js file. WordPress has a function called register block type for creating the UI of a block. At the top of the file, let's import this function from the WordPress/blocks package. There are a couple of things to note down about our import statement. Firstly, we are importing a function from a package called blocks. As far as we know, this package doesn't exist in our project. Installing WordPress's additional packages become optional with the scripts package. The scripts package will automatically allow our blocks to use any of WordPress's packages. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to the Gutenberg repository. All WordPress packages are hosted under a single repository. There are a lot of files and folders to sift through. Luckily, we can avoid most of these files. As plugin and theme developers, the most important folder is the Packages folder. Let's check it out. Under this folder, we will find a long list of packages that can be downloaded for our usage. Conveniently, these packages are sorted in alphabetical order. On this page, we will find the scripts package. Like I said before, by installing the scripts package, we will have access to most of these packages. We do not need to install them individually. Let's search for the blocks package. By viewing a package, a brief summary will be provided about the package. The blocks package contains functions and objects for creating blocks. This package exports the register block type function. If you're ever curious about the code of a function, you can easily find the function by viewing its package. On the file list, there's a folder called source. As I said before, the source directory is a common naming convention for hosting the main code for a package. If you were to view the other packages, the source directory can be found in most of them. Let's head back to our editors. Our import statement is not going to work. WordPress does not use the default namespace. Instead, we must explicitly specify the functions that we'd like to grab from the package by wrapping the function with a pair of curly brackets. Great, we can start using this function. Below the import statement, call the register block type function. This function has two arguments. The first argument is the block's name that should have a UI. We have two options for passing in the name. The first option is to pass in the name as a raw string. The name must match the value from the name property on the block.json file. We called our block Udemy Plus/fancyheader. This solution works, but it's prone to errors. If we make a typo, the function will not work. To mitigate the possibility of an error, let's import the block file. It's completely allowed to import JSON files. Webpack will import the JSON object as a valid JavaScript object. This object can be treated like a regular object in JavaScript. Therefore, we can access the name property by its name. Let's replace the string with the block.name property. By importing the block file, we are treating it as the single source of truth. If we update the block file, our script will be reflected with those changes. Next, we can pass in an object as the second argument to the register block type function. The object can contain various configuration settings for our block. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to this function. On this page, we can review the various options that can be added to the object. Almost immediately, you may notice that the options are similar to the block.json option. WordPress allows us to modify the block's options with this function. Using the block.json file is optional. So, which should you use? In most cases, you can stick to the block.json file. WordPress provides this option for developers that need to create blocks with dynamic options. Rarely will you need to create dynamic options. However, it is an option available at your disposal. Let's head back to our editors. Inside our object, add a function called edit. While the JSON file is easier to work with, it does have its limits. For example, functions are not supported in a JSON file. Therefore, we must define the edit function in the register block type function. The edit function will serve as a React component. Inside this function, we can return JSX. The JSX returned by the edit function will be displayed on the front end. It's fair to say that Gutenberg blocks are React components. We can borrow our definition of React components to Gutenberg blocks. A block is a new HTML tag that is taught to the browser. Our blocks can represent any type of UI. We can create forms, lists, modals, buttons, etc. We have complete control over the UI of our block. For this example, let's display a paragraph element. Inside the function, return a paragraph element with random text. Next, let's try adding a new page. Under the Blocks sidebar, we should be able to find our block. As a reminder, we added our custom block to the text category. If you have a hard time finding our block, it should be searchable. Voila! Our first block has been successfully registered. We can click on this block and add it to the page. In the content area, the elements returned by the edit function are displayed as the block's content. This response was exactly what we were looking for. By using WordPress's functions, we can focus on the development of our block. We didn't have to write hundreds of lines of code to add a block to the editor, nor did we have to worry about positioning our block in the editor. WordPress takes care of all the heavy lifting. Our job is to focus on the UI of the block. Let's continue developing our block in the next lecture.